This is an Eye on Annapolis bonus podcast.
Well, I'll tell you, there is nothing like the sound of the crack of the bat to tell you that it is spring. And if that wasn't my clue, I'm sitting in an orange room here in the Bowie Baysox Stadium with Adam Pohl, who is the director of marketing. How are you today?
It's our time of year, John. We're super excited, and thank you so much for having us. I mean, our opening homestand, the temperatures were, in the 70s or 80s, so we kind of almost feel like, we're already in the summer, which is our time of the year with the Baysox.
Well, I know usually for the opening month of Baysox baseball, I'm either in shorts one day, parkas the next day.
It's so funny you say that because I think it was 2019, we opened at home. First pitch was thrown 43 degrees and drizzling, and I couldn't believe we had as many people here as we had, because it was so miserable. And then we go on the road a week later in Harrisburg, and we have this incredible sellout crowd. It's literally 81 degrees on a Friday night. It's like, wow, we lost the weather lottery on this one. So we got a little bit lucky with our opening week this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, baseball, very early in the season, and the Baysox, I know, do have some very interesting prospects that are coming up. And I think that minor league has really sort of changed a little bit. I mean, it's not, of course, everybody wants to get to the postseason, but the team is so fluid. It's not like a 25-man roster that's someplace that it's fairly solid. I mean, you're sending people out with injuries in the majors and stuff like that. But I mean, we get people that flow through here up into Baltimore, and Bowie is ideally situated, even though they are AA as opposed to AAA, in that, we are 20 minutes from Oriole Park.
Sure. I mean, it's pretty cool. I broadcast Mount St. Mary's basketball, and I love the Mount. But, there's been 2 or 3 Mount players that have ever played a game in the NBA in over 100 years.
Right.
And when you come to a Baysox game, it's not just the Baysox, it's the other teams you're seeing. I mean, over 1/3 of the teams, 12 of the 30 teams in Major League Baseball play here. And 30 to 40% of the people that you're going to see in a game will play in the Major League. So it's pretty unique. And when you just push that out, AA baseball, what a lot of people don't realize is that everybody plays AA baseball. I mean, it's probably 99% of Major League players play AA baseball. So if I had to guess, my guess would be 30 to 35% of the players that you're watching in a Major League game have played in a game in the stadium in Bowie.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been a fan of the Baysox since I moved down here to Maryland in '96. And, it's wonderful. If those of you that haven't been out here to Prince George's Stadium, and that's the official name of this, Prince George's Stadium. We'll call it the Bowie Baysox Stadium too. But right here, it's right off of Route 50 and Route 301, right at the intersection. When that flag at the Toyota dealership's flying, it casts a shadow over the field. It's that,
I mean, we're literally. It's just, I couldn't believe when I moved to this area, and I'm from the D.C. area, but you always think like Bowie's so far from Annapolis. I mean, we're literally right on the Anne Arundel County line here where the stadium is located, and our team hotel is in Annapolis, and it's right off the highway. It's literally 10 minutes from the ballpark. I mean, we're 9 miles on 50 away from Riva Road. It's so close.
It is so close. There's plenty of free parking. And the thing that I love about this, and I've said it a number of years, when you're here at the Baysox Stadium, you can hear the spit hit the ground. I mean, your seats, there is not a cruddy seat in the house. I mean, there is no such thing as the 700 level back in the
correct. Yes, in the roar from 34, right? 700 level, of course, was Philly.
You're right.
The roar from 34 was the same equivalent in Baltimore. That was section 34 in the top corner of the stadium in the 70s, where the Wild Bill Hagee, the famous taxi cab driver, got rowdy one night and ran down on top of the dugout and did the spelled out Orioles with his hands and became a legend in Baltimore. So yes, we don't really have a section 34 in that regard. I mean, it's so funny you say this because we had one of our great partners with the Bowie Arts Center was out this weekend. His name's Chris, and when you pay for tickets and you go to an Oriole game, I mean, for me, it was a long time in my life before I ever even sat in the lower level at Memorial Stadium in Camden Yards. So there's times where you can get a ticket for a comparable price. It's free parking here. It's a little bit harder, obviously in the big leagues to kind of get situated, parked, everything that goes with that. But the aspect of sitting in your seats and then realizing that you're in what at a major league game would be more than $100 seats, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, like I'm right on the action. It's pretty exciting.
Well, and there's so much more that's going on in the stadium other than just baseball. I mean, when you go to Oriole Park, and I don't mean to diss the Orioles or any Major League Baseball, but I mean, you pay for your seat, you sit down there, and I mean, that's what you want. And you probably pay for $12 for a hot dog and, $15 for a beer, the whole 9 yards. The food prices are obviously very much less and a lot more affordable here when you come to Bowie. A little bit more expensive than if you'd cook it at home or buy anything, but that's to be expected. But it is a great family experience. I mean, there's always different events that are going on. You've got a wonderful kids zone down at the end of the first base side that the kids love. And before we recorded this last week, we met, and I was mentioning when my kid was, he's 30 now, but I mean when he was ankle biter size, got lost in the stadium. And he wasn't lost in the stadium. He was in there playing the darn kid zone and just snuck away from me. But it was just amazing. I mean, there was no sense of panic on my part. And it was just like, hey, I can't find my kid. And boom, they found him like that, which was, so it's a wonderful family event. I mean, there are beers for the moms and the dads.
Yes.
There's cotton candy and Dippin' Dots for the kids.
Dippin' Dots is the ice cream of the future still, by the way. That's still their tagline. It's so past. I mean, that's such a 1990s kind of product. But I'll tell you one of the great things about the minor league baseball is I do feel like we're on the cutting edge. So when I started in this industry 20 years ago, major league teams are now doing a lot of the things that the minor leagues were doing, 15, 20 years ago. So they have more promotions. They have, more things they're trying to be more family friendly. The major league product and the financial aspect of the major league product is less geared around making money in game. It's so much more geared around regional and national, media deals.
It's interesting to say that because I think that's in any kind of entertainment. I look at the cruise ship industry, and I mean, we've got water slides that extend 70 feet off the side. We've got Ferris wheels on. It's not just about getting on a boat, getting in a cabin and cruising. Nor is the baseball experience coming to a stadium, sitting in a bleacher seat, depending on what stadium you're in, or a comfortable, cushy seat, and watching a baseball game. It's an experience.
The game is more exciting now because of things like the pitch clock that have come in. They started in the minor leagues in 2018, so the game is moving faster. An average Baysox game is 2.5 hours instead of what a major league game was last year, 3 hours and 11 minutes, which is, that's just an extra 40 minutes of nothing happening in essence, because it's just the wait in between pitches is what that time is. I think that the ability to be close, be in a community setting, in a smaller ballpark, right on everything, very entertainment focused. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, bring unique experiences to fans. We do that through our ticket packages, which many of which are undated, so they give you so much flexibility. It's not like, you've got 4 tickets for this one game. In essence, our flex packs have 8 or 16 game plans that you can just use if you're a family of 4,
When Aunt Martha's in town, we can go.
If it's a Thursday night or a Saturday night. So there's a lot of, it's a great experience, a great family fun experience. But really, we want it to be a 9-inning vacation for anybody, and that's what we're trying to bring to the table here.
Well, we are seeing some good ball here.
Yes.
At this point, who are the ones to watch that we should look at?
Well, I think, overall, there's just excitement about the Orioles organization and what they're doing in investing in young talent.
Not quite as exciting as the Commanders organization, I might add, but in the last week or so. But
I'm a big fan, so there's no doubt about that. But I completely agree. But this is a long-term play for the Orioles in that playing with some of the big heavy hitters and spending in baseball, the Yankees and Red Sox in their division. Blue Jays are kind of becoming that as well a little bit. That the Orioles have got to be better than these other teams in developing their own talent. We're seeing it with Tampa Bay, who's off to the best start in baseball this year. That is what they have made their own. And it's interesting because one of the big pieces of the puzzle hasn't really come to Bowie yet, which is the development of a true Latin American development angle. The Orioles were by far 30th out of 30 in going after Latin talent. They literally did not spend any money on it in the past 20 years.
Is that where the future is in baseball? In Latin America?
To be honest, I think it's where the present is. I mean, 30, 40 years ago, the Latin American ball players were about 10% of baseball, and they're about 30 to 40%. Okay. It would be a little bit of a surprise if they become 60, 70%. So I think it is the here and the now. And, when you were the Orioles of the past and you're not trying to bring into your organization 30 to 40% of players, and I'm not saying they're not trying to get Latin Major League players, but the best way to get Latin superstars is to sign them at the age of 16 and bring them through your organization, and the Orioles were not doing that. So that has now changed, and a lot of the first signings of those players are now 18, 19, 20, so they're not to Bowie yet,
Right.
But they're only 1 or 2 years away, and the Orioles were drafting at the top of the draft and have drafted some really, really great players. If you're an Oriole fan, of course, you would know Adley Rutschman in the first draft of Mike Elias, the Orioles general manager. He drafted with his first 2 picks, Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. And those two became the 2 top players in minor league baseball, one being in 2021 and one being in 2022. So now it's 2023. What do we have now? And because both those players were in Bowie those years. So now we've got this guy, Heston Kjerstad. He was the 2nd overall pick, the Orioles' first pick in the 2020 draft. That was the COVID year. So there was no minor league baseball season, so he did not play in 2020, but he got COVID, and he had the heart ailment, and I always mispronounce it, but it's myocarditis, whatever that was.
I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? So the enlarged heart.
We're not cardiologists here. We're talking baseball.
We're talking baseball. And so he could not play in 21.
Okay.
And then in 2022, he comes in. So he's drafted in 2020. Usually you're playing in 20. So
nothing.
Has not played. And he gets injured in spring training.
Oh, gosh.
So he doesn't make his pro debut until more than 2 years after being drafted, which is unbelievably unique. He struggled a little bit late in 22 in places like Delmarva. He went up to Aberdeen late in the season, but then he played in the Prospect Layton Arizona Fall League and was outstanding. Had an incredible spring training with the Orioles this year. And in the first 10 games first 9 games of this season, he has hit 5 home runs for Bowie. So he is absolutely the guy right now. There are other players as well, obviously, that we can talk about, but Kjerstad's probably not going to be in Bowie all that long. So if you want to get out to the ballpark here in the next week or so, the next few weeks, we're at home here in late April, early May, to see Kjerstad, to see him as a minor league player. He's going to be in Baltimore pretty soon.
The other thing that's nice about the Bowie Baysox is that being so close to Baltimore,
no doubt,
as the season gets underway, you're going to see some injuries coming out of the Orioles.
Sure.
And typically, where do they send them to rehab? They send them right down here to Bowie.
And we already had that, on what was we called it our opening night, our Friday night, first weekend out of the year, first firework night of the year. You were actually here, John, thank you. And Kyle Bradish, Orioles starter, who was a starter for the Baysox in 2021, was our starting pitcher because Bradish took a line drive off his leg in his second start, or maybe first start of the year. But he was the Orioles' second series. They were in Texas, and they wanted to have him make a start in the minors before coming back. So you're 100% right. We usually have right around 10 Orioles that will rehab with us during a year, which is an enormous number. Usually 5 to 12 in that range.
Which is great. Well, things have changed over the offseason.
Yes.
For the Baysox. You have new owners.
So the second year, yes.
Is this the second year for them?
It is, but really, think about it. You purchase a franchise, and a lot of times that first year, you learn. You don't really try to make a lot of adjustments or changes, and you learn. And I feel that in many ways, that's what our ownership group, Attain Sports and Entertainment, has done. Local ownership, really exciting. Our owner lives in Potomac, Maryland, Greg Baroni and his team, and it's been so much fun working with them.
That's where all the sports team owners live. Yeah. Snyder lives in Potomac.
Yeah, Potomac that's a nice little spot. That's a nice little spot.
But there've been, I've been to 2 games here so far, and I've seen some great improvements, and the lighting seems to be a little bit different. The sound is fantastic. Have you upgraded your sound system?
we're actually, we have not, but we are doing some different things. We've got like a new lapel mic that we're using some, so that's good. But the lights are a big thing. So in the past, we had, the old school lights that took about 5 to 10 minutes to turn on. So if we had a fireworks show and then we have kids run the bases after, it would take 5-10 minutes for us to get that going. So it's nice to not have that now. And you see this in a lot of ballparks or a lot of athletic events now. We're able to do the light shows. So on nights where we don't have a fireworks show when the game's over, we're going to play a few songs and do about an 8-minute light show, which is really, really cool.
Create a little bit of excitement.
Yeah. So it's something
cool.
very unique.
That's pretty cool. And I do know that you signed a new lease. I know that for a while you guys were, you're in a piss and match with Prince George's County or whoever owns the stadium to figure out, we've been here forever. We need some help. We need you guys to improve. So I know that you guys are now into a new longer term lease, and
it's huge.
Authority is going to be doing some improvements to the physical stadium, which is fantastic. Because this stadium is 20 years old now?
Yeah, keep going up.
25?
It's basically 30 years old. It was 1994 was the opening year. This should be the 30th season of the Baysox in this stadium. Of course, it's the 29th because we didn't have a season in 2020. But yeah, so in essence, this is a 30th summer of baseball being played in this ballpark because we were the Orioles minor league practice spot. During COVID, the Orioles had, all of their players that were AAA level, and then a few others, practice in an alternate site, and Bowie was that. So we did have baseball here in the COVID year, just nobody was here to watch it. But going back to the point, when I worked originally with the Baysox, starting in 2014, we were always in a 2 or 4 year agreement with the Orioles and a yearly agreement with Prince George's County Parks and Recs. So it's amazing now because we're in a 10-year agreement with the Orioles and a 10-year agreement on our lease. So it really gives us a lot of wind in our sails.
That's very cool. Well, I'll tell you, as director of marketing,
yes,
promotions sort of fall under your...
No doubt. It's a fun gig.
And, one thing on minor league, which is just awesome, you've got the names of the teams, okay? And you guys aren't the most original name team, okay? Bowie Baysox, okay.
We don't have a crazy name.
It's got some alliteration, but you're not the Rumble Ponies.
Right. Our league is more of those names than ever before because the team that started that phenomenon was Richmond when they became the Flying Squirrels in 2010. And then all of a sudden in our league, the Reading Phillies became the Fightin' Phils. And then the Akron Arrows became the Akron Rubber Ducks. And then the New Britain Rockcats became the Hartford Yard Goats. And Binghamton Mets or the Binghamton Rumble Pony. So we are, there's a lot of teams that are kind of in this, in minor league baseball in totality, but the Eastern League probably has more of it than any other league,
Well, on occasional nights, it's sort of a nod to the Latin American players that you have, but our Latin American community is growing so much here in Anne Arundel and Prince George's and, Charles County and everything else. And I know that you do have some nights, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but you rebrand the team.
We basically we're the Chesapeake Ghost Crabs, but in Spanish, right? So that's exciting. We're doing it 5 times this year, and Bowie is a very unique, and this area is a very unique market for minor league baseball in totality. Minor league baseball is, we are a suburban community, obviously, and minor league baseball is usually in areas that are further away from major cities, more mid-sized American towns. Obviously some of the bigger towns in our league are Hartford and Richmond. Some of the smaller towns in our league are Erie, Binghamton, Altoona, Pennsylvania. But these are kind of more their own cities. So for us, we have more of a Hispanic market around our ballpark. But yeah, there's 12 teams in our league. If you drew a 30-minute driving radius around every team in our league, we would have more of a Hispanic population.
We've got millions of people.
So it's wonderful. And again, 30 to 40% of ball players are also of Hispanic origin. Even more lineage because we have a lot of American ball players that are Hispanic. So it's a wonderful thing. It's something that we take a lot of pride in. We are incorporating local radio station this year, El Zol, which is in the D.C. market, but its signal comes out of Prince George's County, and we're going to be tied very closely to them in promoting these events. So.
Very nice, very nice. Well, and the schedule is a sort of a every Monday off for the most part.
Correct.
And it's 1 week away and kind of 1 week back home.
Correct.
For the most part.
It's almost like we're on 1 week off. It's kind of
for those kids in school, it's like A day, B day.
It's so true, which is nice for our staff. There's one time where we have 12 games in 13 days, and that's upcoming. Starting April 25th, we've got 2 weeks in a row at home. So we start on a Tuesday, play 6 days, have Monday off, and then at home again Tuesday.
For another 6.
So
but every Friday and Saturday you have fireworks.
So it's every Saturday and then certain Fridays during the season. So so we're going to have quite a few fireworks shows. The July 4th lead up to, John, is going to be big because we don't have July 4th at home. I think it might be on a Tuesday this year. So we're going to do fireworks July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that's going to be really, really exciting. I think a bigger thing is this. When I came to Bowie, so my background is in broadcasting minor league baseball. And when I came, so I've seen a million fireworks shows. Right? I mean, I see them everywhere. When I came to Bowie, I couldn't believe it, as in 2014. And this is from somebody that's used to seeing them. I mean, people are blown away. The quality of our fireworks, I'd put up against anybody. Take a look at our schedule. Again, every Saturday home night, we have 12 of them during the season.
And I'll vouch for you too, man. They're impressive.
They're spectacular. It's about a 10 to 15 minute show usually. And it's really, really... July 4th quality, I'll put it that way.
Has the same company been doing your fireworks all along, do you know?
At least since I've been here, which is a decade.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're good. Kids can get out on the field and run the bases on Fridays and Saturdays. And then you get the pesky parents. You allow them out on Sunday too. Right?
We let everybody on there on Sundays. We want experience-based opportunities. So we're doing some more catch on the field this year before Sunday games. We're still kind of in the planning process for exactly how often we're going to do that. But we're doing it more often. We had that this last Sunday and went really well. But running the bases is such a great thing. And this year with these lights flicking on right after the fireworks, you don't have to wait here at the ballpark so long to do it. So
turn them on and
let them go. So I think that's going to be a little bit better for our customers as well.
That's cool. And with being off on Mondays, Monday is like a thing of the past now, isn't it?
Yes. It's in the rearview mirror. So we had to come up with a different alliteration.
We don't cancel anything. We just make up a different word. So what do we got?
We got Woof Wednesdays.
Makes sense. Same deal?
Same exact deal.
Well-behaved pets on leashes?
You just got to bring their, make sure
rabies tag.
Their rabies tag, and you're good to go. But
not allowed to gnaw on little kids that are running around, lost their parents. That's frowned upon.
Or directors of marketing. So that we don't want that. But no, it's a great night. Wednesday night, obviously. Such an easy night to sit close and enjoy it. So
right, Star Wars night I know is going to come back again.
Yeah, June 3rd.
That is a sellout night.
Yes.
And I know throughout the season we're going to be giving away plenty of tickets in there for box seats, which are the lower level green seats. And I remember I personally came to Star Wars night last year.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, well, here's your bleacher seat. And I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because we had already sold out of all of our other seats. Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful night for Star Wars night. And then coming back into August 4th, as soon as the Naval Academy grants the plebes some reprieve.
We are the reprieve. Yeah.
It's Navy night and Annapolis night here at Bowie Baysox Stadium.
Yeah, we're trying to make that bigger and better than ever. So obviously the plebe class is here. It's the first time they ever wear their whites. That basically all of our midshipmen have come to that game, and it's really, really special for us.
It's a neat night.
When I worked in Frederick for a long time, and people say, what's the most special thing about the Keys ballpark? And I would always say that you could stand at Francis Scott Key's grave, which is across the street from the stadium, and hear the national anthem from his gravesite. Literally, the writer of the national anthem. I thought that was such a unique thing. But for Bowie, I think Navy night is that. I mean, there's nothing like this in minor league baseball. To have a university's freshman class, in essence, come would be great. But to make it the plebe class of the Naval Academy. It makes it so much more special. And we just take a lot of pride in it. And this season, we're going to be trying to work with the families here locally as well that sponsor these mids and give them an opportunity to come out as well. So, that's going to be a great thing that we're putting together for our first time this year.
Well, stay tuned because we'll have information on that. And I'll tell you, visually, it's pretty impressive, too.
Incredible.
When you see 1,000 in white uniform plebes sitting in the stands. And I know I've seen some actually in the National Stadium. They've done a couple of military days where they bring the brigade over, and
that's awesome.
It's pretty neat when you see that. And certainly we want to give honor to these I'll say the psycho kids that decided to sign up for this. But
what's funny is that kind of a little piece of Baysox history. The Baysox started in '93, but did not play in the stadium, Prince George's Stadium, until 1994. But we didn't open the 1994 season here. The stadium wasn't ready yet, so it didn't open until, in essence, about halfway through the season. So the Baysox played the first 2 months of their season, April, May, and maybe even a little bit of June, at two places.
Memorial Stadium in Bishop Field?
No, it was University of Maryland's field.
Okay.
And Navy's stadium too. Bishop Field.
Bishop Stadium and Terwilliger Field.
Yeah, exactly. So, Navy is one of the 3 former homes of the Baysox that are not the stadium we're in right now. Memorial Stadium was where the Baysox played in 1993.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. You got any wild and nutty things coming up? I mean, marketing.
We always do.
Come on, what are we shaving this year?
Yeah, we're not having a waxing night. But I do think one of the most unique things that we're going to have at the stadium is July 15th, Saturday night. It is our circus night. So we're going to have circus acts all around the ballpark. And how cool is that? So I can't wait to put this night into
like guys
motion.
on stilts and jugglers and clowns and
exactly. Maybe, I don't know if we could put a wire across the stadium and have somebody walk across it during the game and see if they get hit.
I think you should put your general manager Brian up there and see how well he does.
I don't think that would fly, but it's gonna be something that's unique. And I think one of the cool things about minor league baseball is that we kind of all share with each other a lot of these things that we do. So, obviously, somebody did a bobblehead first, and then everybody
has a bobblehead.
And so hopefully this is the kind of night that we can have a lot of success with it and can become a staple throughout the country.
Okay. Real talk now. What happened to Bristles?
Yes. Yeah, I think Bristles has faded out. Bristles would always come out and sweep home plate. I did like Bristles.
He's retired.
He's retired.
He's a retired dentist.
Yeah, he's a retired dentist. He came at us asking for double the pay, and we just couldn't. We negotiated. We couldn't come to an agreement.
That dental union's tough.
We do have. I'm telling you, we have a lot of fun going on. One of the things is one of our MCs. we got new MCs at the ballpark this year, and Evan is one of our MCs is going to bring an incredible level of entertainment to the stadium. Not that we haven't had this in the past, because we have had spectacular MCs in the past. Our most recent, Paul Clary, was
Paul
so
got
much
married
fun.
here.
Paul got married here at the stadium. I played the national anthem on the trumpet for that wedding during the COVID year, and he's a dear friend. But I think we got a lot of great energy coming into the season this year, and I think that when you come out to the ballpark, you'll see that level of entertainment. So,
okay, beyond circus night, are there other surprises that you're able to talk about?
Oh, yeah, we're working on a major surprise right now that hoping we can announce in the next week or two. But that
wouldn't be like U2 playing a concert here.
That would be nice. Now, I do want to mention another one, though. We are going to have, and it is, I should have the date in front of me, but I don't. It's on a Friday night in August. We're going to have a great Grateful Dead night. I think this could be really good for the Ion Annapolis crowd. So check it out. We're going to have an incredible cover band out here playing both before game and in game. So a few,
cool.
And I think that's going to be a really, really cool night. And whether it's Grateful Dead or not going forward, I think it's a great thing to do, meaning bring in a really good cover band and have them, be a big act for the night. So I'm really looking forward to that.
You know what? Here's an idea for your off season for you. I would love to see a festival of decades with just not cover bands, but tribute bands, we'll say, the bands that just play that. So, okay, like the Grateful Dead, it could be Living Earth is a band that used to do just Dead. Yeah. That'd be amazing to see just nothing but a bunch of tribute bands, a U2 band, and I know there's the Psycho Killers in Baltimore that do Talking Heads, and that'd just be amazing to see.
It would, and I think that one of the things that our ownership is really involved with now, and that I'm going to try to take to, or help take to another level here with the Baysox, is our outreach in the nonprofit community and our ability to raise money through this ballpark for more institutions and organizations. So something like that would have a great tie to that angle as well, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, we are going to be coming back here with a few more podcasts throughout the season. We're going to hit you up mid-season.
I love it.
I do want to talk to Matt Sabatos, who is your broadcaster and does a lot of your communications work, because I understand he's got a great story.
He does. He does. And if you listen to our games we are back on the radio in Annapolis this year on 1430.
Right, you're on WNAB, which is 1430 AM.
Correct. And we were in the past, but they had the Orioles, so we would have basically 40 games on air and then, the rest online. Now, our entire season, for the most part, I think there's 5 conflicts or whatever, but basically our entire season will be on the air. So when you turn on WNAV at night, almost, during the week, including home and road, you'll hear the Baysox.
And that's 99.9 on FM or 1430 on AM there.
Yeah, it's also, if you download the iHeartRadio app, you can get WNAV as well. So if for some reason you're out of, or it doesn't come in great for you due to, one way, shape, or form, that's a great way to listen as well.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, and it is I hate the word, but it is a cheap night out. This is a cheap date. This is cheaper than a movie theater.
We like to say affordable. I'm with you.
I work with the Subaru. I work with Subaru, and they always say, no, it's not a used car. It is a previously owned.
It's all about messaging. But let me tell you a quick story. I start in Frederick in 2007. And we have there's a lot of turnover at that time in our minor league staff. And our general manager, Dave Zidelis, who now runs the Visitors Bureau in Frederick, he says, guys, we're almost as cheap as a movie ticket. And look at all you get. And then 3 years later, he says, guys, we're the same price as a movie ticket. And then by the time I was about to come to Bowie, when I heard him make that same speech for a 7th time in 2013, he goes, guys, we're cheaper than a movie theater. So that, it is a great thing. And generally, obviously we do, have other entertainment options that are baseball related, but we are the only minor league baseball team kind of in this area. You can drive an hour north to Aberdeen or go all the way down to Waldorf, I understand. But being AA baseball, being an Orioles affiliate, we play the Nationals affiliate quite often here as well. So even if you're a Nats fan, there's so many times you can come out and see the Nationals, who are doing the same thing the Orioles were doing a few years ago, trying to really grow their minor leagues. So there's a lot of their top talent is in their system. It's really an exciting time to come out to a Baysox game.
True. Well, I'll tell you what, as we wrap up, we do want to come back at the end of the season and see how we did.
Awesome.
But before we do that, we're here at the beginning of the season. There are 139 games, correct? 138 games. All right. Loser buys the lunch with the beer. Okay.
Let's do it.
What's it going to be at the end of the season?
So should I give a record and then we'll do an over under?
Yeah.
Well, I got to give I think we're going to be very good. It's really the offense. That's super exciting. We do have 2 pitchers that the Orioles made trades for in the Mancini deal, Chase McDermott, and then in the Jorge Lopez deal last year, Cade Povich, that are really big prospects. There's some other guys that were drafted kind of a little bit lower in the draft that have jumped up. One that comes to mind is Justin Armbruster. If you're a big baseball fan, look into these names because they could be on your Masson television screen soon. But really the offense is loaded. Kerstad, we talked about Kobe Mayo's 21-year-old corner infielder, very similar prospects to what Ryan Mountcastle was here in Bowie 6 years ago. And then there's just such a steady stream of guys. Aberdeen, last year's draft, just a ton of great hitters in Aberdeen. And then Jackson Holliday, the number 1 pick in the draft, could be here by the end of the year.
Right.
So the hope is that we're having a playoff season. 4 of our 12 teams in our league will make the postseason. So why don't we make that the bet? That I'm going to bet that we will make the postseason.
Oh, well, I was going to take that too, but okay. All right. So we're going to go.
Well, I don't want you to root against the Baysox.
So let's just go to lunch at the end, and we'll celebrate the postseason.
Let's do that. I like that.
We'll buy the beers there, and the postseason thing works out a little bit differently too because they've changed that. It's the top teams at the halftime.
Right. So we have 6 teams in our division, and after half of the season, whoever was the best of those 6 teams makes the postseason, and then the second half champion will play that team. So it's I don't know. I'd kind of rather just to be the best team over the course of the whole year, to be honest. But because sometimes the team that deserves to make it kind of gets left out in that regard. But it's done this way also for financial reasons, meaning that if you make the postseason halfway through the season, then you can really sell a lot of tickets, over the next 2 months and get a lot of excitement leading into that playoff run. So that's kind of the reason why it's done.
It makes sense. Well, for tickets, Baysox.com is where you want to go. You also want to keep your eye out on eyeonannapolis.net because we are giving them away all spring and summer long on our Facebook page, All Annapolis, Twitter, through the podcast that we do every day. We do have the recaps because Matt so wonderfully sends them over to us of every game. So you'll be able to keep up on all of your Bowie Baysox news. And if you have never been to Bowie Baysox Stadium, the Prince George Stadium.
They call it the Baysox Stadium. That's great.
If you have never been here, shame on you.
It's probably 15, 20, 25 minutes most from where your listenership is. And secondly, the tickets that you would win, here from John would be undated tickets. And that's important to know because obviously it just gives you a lot of flexibility as to when you can plan as a family to come out.
Right. I mean, if you want to go to a specific game, you can come to the stadium today and exchange it for that particular date. Or you can just come the day of if the rain clears and the weather is nice.
That's important to note. You could come out and literally get your tickets for an August date today.
And the Baysox were so generous because these are the good seats. These aren't the cheap. These aren't the cheap seats. These are the good ones, and you get the best available cheap seats or best available good seats that are available at the time that you exchange them. So. Come on out. It's less expensive than going to the theater by the time you pay your fees and ticketing fees and all of that kind of stuff. Free parking, convenient parking, wonderful baseball, and you're really going to see the future of the Orioles play right here in Bowie. 10 minutes, 15 minutes from wherever you are.
It's like seeing a famous band play in a small bar, and then seeing them, win.
Maybe it's sort of like the Foo Fighters in the Atlantis that's opening up in a...
Exactly. You're like, I saw them, when they were here. But it is pretty cool. And there's a lot of more interactivity with players as well at this level. And then, of course, just the entertainment aspect. You're going to have a good time.
Fantastic. Adam Pohl, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thanks for bringing baseball back. I'm glad to see we're back in a more normal season.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Thank goodness.
And come out to the stadium. Baysox.com is where you want to go to get your tickets and get all the information. Find out all the up-to-the-minute standings. And Adam Pohl, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
This has been a bonus podcast from Eye on Annapolis. Please visit us at eyeonannapolis.net. Follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Eye on Annapolis. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily News Brief podcast, go for it. And all of your local news will be delivered to your phone, tablet, or smart device by 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday.